Thank you. We're just verifying that we are recording this, and welcome everybody. We want to thank you for attending our webinar talking about our digital kiosk, our touchscreen kiosk. We are MediaWorx, and again, thanks for joining us. We're going to try to keep this brief, but go through some information that we think will be valuable to you and your company. MediaWorx will tell you a little bit about us, but this is kind of geared towards our Kentucky tourism industry. Bob and I attended the Kentucky Tourism Association conference in the spring of this year, and it was a great success. And from there, we wanted to kind of put together just more information for you to learn about what we do and how we can help you out. So again, welcome. Myself and Bob are co-founders, but also our co-presenters. And Bob, I don't know if you want to say hi.
Yeah. Hi, everybody, and welcome today to the webinar. First of all, I want to thank everybody for attending today, and also to pre-warn you that even though we've been doing IT work, sales, and pushing kiosks for many years, we're kind of novices at webinars, so please bear with us. Also, if you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to use the Zoom chat feature to post a message, and we'll do our best to answer questions directly, or we'll address them at the conclusion of the presentation. But this entire presentation should only take about 30 minutes, but the question and answer segment might take a little bit longer. Anyway, Jerry, take it away.
Yeah, so again, at the very end, if you got any questions, write them down, and at the end, we'll try to answer those for you. So again, talking about the tourism industry and who we are, and just basically how we define that, pain points for the industry. We'll go over that. The travel industry updates, what's happening with new technology, hotels and how that's benefiting them, just the advancements altogether, talking about the value, and then about our kiosk in general, which I know that you want to hear about. So financing and so on, we'll get into as we go. And then next steps is basically just the last part of it there. So again, we at MediaWorx, we want to make sure that we provide a turnkey operation for you, from our hardware, software, all the content and development, which Bob is very integral with all of that. The maintenance part of it, which we can talk about too, distribution on it, and just knowing that everything is done under one umbrella.
Yeah, and Jerry, this is one thing I think too that kind of separates us from any competitors out there, is that we are that one-stop shop, that we have everything, and we do, like Jerry mentioned, the hardware, the software, the creative, the maintenance. We do it all in-house, and we do have suppliers that work with us, but we handle it all, so there's nothing for you all to have to really worry about.
Yeah, want to make it a seamless operation. So defining the tourism value, we know that you guys are wanting to create jobs and strengthen the economy, especially in the last few years. The tourism industry has really taken a hit as far as the volume. One feature I thought was kind of interesting. We were talking with Julie from Meet NKY, and she was telling us back in 2019-20, when COVID hit, that the hotel occupancy rate dropped as low as 2%, and that's, it's not sustainable. So we need to strengthen the economy, contribute to just the infrastructure itself, reducing poverty and equity, general revenues. We want to create more revenues for you guys. So all those things are how we bring value to you. When pain points, this is just something that we're all dealing with on what's happening, not just in the industry, but in general for businesses. So companies are finding that they have to be more competitive. They've got to have ways to stand out. We think that our kiosk and the digital signage business is the new wave of doing that. Customer expectations, not only are they changing, but they're changing too quick. Customers and companies that are being forced to budget their monies in smarter ways, which is maybe one of the reasons why you're paying attention to this right now. Security and privacy, You all know how important that is. We're on, again, try to stay on the cutting edge of all that. Loyalty is hard to keep loyal customers. And I think service and just new strategies are one way to try to gain loyalty out of a customer. Updates in the industry, we wanted to find out what people are spending per day in today's world. And that per day number for one tourist is $463 per day per one person.
Yeah.
And when you get into all the pre-COVID and what was going on there, and then where we're at now, and you can see what's happening to prices from airfares, hotels, car rentals. You know, it says car rentals 51%. Good luck on trying to get a rental sometimes.
Yeah.
Restaurants, we know what's going on there. Entertainment, all these items have gone back up and more than what. So here you are, you're trying to capture tourism dollars, and people are just trying to figure out how they're going to afford the vacation and experience. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I think that's going to be a big word for you guys. The trends in the industry, everybody's doing everything they can from technology to maximize their business any way they can to keep up with it. And this is ever changing. 82% of hoteliers, and just businesses in general really are looking to invest in technology. So some of the trends that we're running into, this may be a little redundant, but you know, improving the travel experience we just talked about for the customers, for everybody. Freeing up the staff a little bit. Just recently, Bob and I were down at Heaven Hill Distilleries in Kentucky, and that's Bardstown, wasn't it, Bob?
Yes. Yeah.
Bardstown, talking with our buddy Jeff down there, and they get busloads of people to come in to take the tours, but they are literally overwhelmed by those buses and feel like they're not really providing the best customer service when the customer first walks in. So our kiosk, we think, would be a big fit for them there as well. Large conferences, some of you deal with that, some of you don't, but how the kiosk will play a role in that as well. Just easy registrations. And then the benefits in hospitality, the hotel industry. How we can keep your customer more entertained. We've got ideas on our campaigns to make those even better. Increases efficiency, satisfaction, and loyalty. Again, more people are moving towards being able to do it themselves. Cost effectiveness and the customer service, again, putting a big role on customer service. Multiple languages, obviously that's going to come into play. So whether you're there for business or pleasure, we're thinking that our kiosk and our digital signage will be able to access more information in a more timely, relevant, and quickly attainable information. Statistics to your right there, looking at 8 seconds to keep somebody's attention. I think it's actually more like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Anybody that is watching a television and they are switching channels back and forth would tell you that, for somebody that can actually watch 2 or 3 screens at once. So our attention span is so we can absorb more information now, it seems like, than ever. Creating value for the hotels through the interactive communication. You can get involved with finding, you know, local restaurants and what's going on with areas of interest throughout the city. And I think, Bob, I want maybe talk just briefly about how we can take a kiosk, let's say in a hotel, and how the venues nearby, how we can promote those. And
Yeah.
you want to talk about that now, or you want to get into it a little bit?
Yeah, well, again, I think it's pretty simple that our kiosk, and we'll get into that in a minute, but they have a lot of areas that allow us to feature information about the businesses that are in the area, whether it's dining or entertainment or attractions or whatever. So it's real simple for us to add screens, and I can do it remotely, or we can even schedule it in advance based on maybe events that are coming up, or specials, or maybe even it's a happy hour or something like that that somebody has that we can add to the kiosk pretty easily.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we go. The kiosk industry in general, as you can see, where it is today and where it's going in the future, you can't help but see them everywhere. And as technology is improving and the information that's available through analytics and just data itself, this number is probably going to raise. It's a global number here. Talking about digital trends from the actual screens themselves, everybody has heard about LEDs, but I've never heard of the quantum dot organic. This is about a year or two out. When I say out, it's been in existence, but you're going to see more design specialty type products like this that will become everyday products. And the one thing that I noticed on all this that I thought was interesting was just the lower power consumption. So imagine screens that are going to be bigger, better, and using less power.
Lower power and better quality.
Yeah. This is another new trend that's happening right now. It's been out, but the technology has improved, where it's a digital screen that is flexible, that can be used for multiple purposes, but from large areas to walls. And these all can be stitched together to where you can take one image and cover an entire wall from whatever size you want.
Yeah.
So these are all available.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention that even though we feature these touchscreen kiosks that you've all seen and hopefully touched, we also have access to all these trendy digital products as well. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any interest in anything that Jerry's talking about in this part of the presentation.
So from video wall displays to just the new technology, it's very exciting to watch these changes, and we all pay attention to technology. But from any of that part of it, based on what your needs are, we have access to. So when it comes to creating the value for digital technology, we get involved with the hotel community areas right now, and we're working a lot with the CVBs and the tourism boards to provide a very simple, I'll call it a reasonable priced way of communicating with your customers, and dealing with everything from what the value to the visitors, or where they can actually come up to the kiosk. And as you notice on the right there, we get involved with QR codes. And Bob, if you want, might want to talk briefly about that.
Yeah, those QR codes that you can see on that kiosk in the image. These are, and again, if there's any one good thing that came out of COVID-19, is it forced us all to learn how to use QR codes, which also ultimately makes our kiosk experience even better. I think it also allows the kiosk to easily link and access the content right to our phones. And I think more than anything else, with marketers or even organizations like you're all, if you can connect and be on their phones, you're like right in their pocket. So you can send messages and do different things like that. Once they use that QR code, then they can access a lot of different things that are in the area, and it's all on their phone, as opposed to them like putting a credit card or something in on the kiosk. You wouldn't want them to do that, but they feel more comfortable doing that on their phone.
Right. This is one of our kiosks, an actual template that we're using right now. You notice it's down at Media MKY. So again, 78% of customers, they want immediate information on that, going back to our attention span, and just we want immediate results. This is a screen also deals with hotels. And again, Bob, you might want to talk briefly about the quick turnaround as far as developing this screen on the right here.
Yeah, on this slide, you'll notice there where it says the Kentucky Jailers Association. I think this is a good example about how the kiosk can be customized for special events. I was able to program a couple of select kiosks to display this welcome screen to begin at a certain date and then end at another specific date. And it's very easy to do, and it's very customizable. And we do most of that, but I can also teach you all how to do that as well.
Yeah. So again, we can handle everything from special events, conventions, groups that you bring in. We can take care of all that. Check-in process, everything. Advertising opportunities, something we might talk about later on here as well. Yeah, people are looking to where they don't want to deal with people as much. They want to deal with a electronic device to do all their check-ins, whether it's a phone or a bigger phone, basically is what our kiosk is.
Yeah, it is an Android.
Yeah, touchscreen as well. The value to the communities, I think, the tourism industry itself is in the state of Kentucky, especially, how do you bring in more people and how do you keep them and get them to come back again? So again, technology, we think, is going to be one way of doing that. Everybody is looking to figure out the best way to create the best visitor experience. Value to the boards, again, we've talked about this a little bit, but getting involved with the communities and the relationships that you build. We are down in Bullitt County dealing with our buddy Troy Beam down there, and it's the Bernheim Arboretum. Am I saying that right, Bob?
It sounds pretty close.
Yeah. So it's a huge 25,000 acre nature preserve. And this is an hour and a half away from northern Kentucky where we live. And I had no clue it was down there until we went down to visit. So, how do you get the word out to people? Well, one way is through this right here. We're convincing Bullitt County that they need to advertise up here and vice versa. So.
And Jerry, one thing I did want to point out too, on this is another slide. And again, we have the QR code on there, but this particular slide, the MediaWorx uses this slide to survey visitors that come into the area just to see how they like their stay. So they scan that QR code, answer a couple questions. You can then give incentives to the people for giving you information. But again, it's a quick and simple way for you all as CVBs and tourism boards to survey visitors to just see what they think about.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about analytics as well. So about our kiosks, as you've seen, they are touchscreen. When we say plug and play, it's basically you can plug these in, turn it on, and it's ready to go. These are 55-inch screens, very durable. We connect through Wi-Fi or cellular. So basically, that's all we're asking from you is give us a way to connect. It's interactive. They're very lightweight, very usable. Let me go back to that page for a second. I didn't know if we want to even talk yet, Bob, about just the connectivity and the Wi-Fi and storing the information on the kiosk.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point that we could mention too, where Jerry says Wi-Fi or cellular, is that we do have what we do is hook these up and we use the hotel or the visitor center's Wi-Fi, and 99% of the time it works fine. But every once in a while we have something that's called whitelisting, that some of the kiosks that they do not get whitelisted, so they are not seen on the Wi-Fi network and they get bumped off. So we also can use what's called like a cellular router. So I just installed one in a kiosk today. It's a cellular router, so we don't really even have to use the hotel's Wi-Fi. So if you're in a real remote location or something like that, we can definitely tap into the internet by the cellular as opposed to the Wi-Fi.
Right. The idea that we're not liable to the internet going down or a power surge, whatever. Once we have all the information inside of the kiosk, it stays there and it's not affected by any kind of power outage or anything like that. Am I saying that right, Bob?
Yeah, it's stored locally. We go to the internet and we'll pull the content off. Let's say we have to do an update or something like that to the content. It'll pull the content off of the internet, and then it stores it right there on the, they call it locally, right there on the actual computer of that kiosk. So it's really not using much internet at all. Probably 98% of the day, it's not using the internet at all. So like Jerry mentioned, if the internet went out, the kiosk is still going to work fine, because you'll be able to click on the buttons and scan the QR codes and different things like that. Now, if it were a page that was going outside and it was going to a map, like a Google map, we're subject to if Google's working or if the internet's working in that case. But again, most of the time, it works perfectly.
Yeah. Okay. Dashboards, these are, it's an actual picture of the map where the little green dots that you see up there, those are kiosks that we have placed in and around northern Kentucky right now. And to the right, the bottom right there, this is real time that we have access to pull up real time what's happening in each one of our screens, where they're located at. And again, making changes on those, I don't want to say it's as simple as making a change, but it's relatively easy for us to make changes for you, whether it's, in our case, the Reds are in town and we want to do some special promotion, or we just had recently Taylor Swift in town and how we promoted that in northern Kentucky, over in the Cincinnati area. So that is really a big benefit. And this kind of technology really, I'm going to say 5 years, Bob, maybe, that this has been out. So having access is key to everything for us.
Yeah. And what I like about it is that this allows me to program the content. So I can, like Jerry was saying, I can make changes or edits, but it also shows me which ones are operational and which ones are not. But I can go in there instantly. If I updated some content, what I typically have to do is click a little button and it will actually automatically reboot that kiosk in real time. And so I can go and the kiosk will actually turn off and turn back on, and I can do it all remotely from right there on that dashboard that Jerry's showing you right there.
Yeah. So again, that's pretty interesting technology. Again, what we just talked about, our content itself is stored locally on the hard drive there. Reboots nightly. We can actually set that up to reboot whenever we want. So moving along, this is one of our kiosks that we have in northern Kentucky, in one of the hotels called Aloft, which you can see at the top. We'll talk more about design on the kiosk itself, but how they can work for you from the signage with showing the amenities. Down at the bottom of this, you'll see the weather. The top, you'll see the time. And those can be designed any way that you want. But right now, this is the template that we're using. Talking about maps, dining, attractions, getting involved with QR codes. If somebody in northern Kentucky wants to buy tickets to a Reds game, they can do it right there on the kiosk. Events, all these things can be done. Outdoor kiosks, this is another product that we have available. These things are very, very durable.
Yeah, and Jerry, I did also want to mention that we have a dedicated logistics team when you see these kiosks that helps us deliver the kiosks to the hotels and the visitor centers. And then Jerry and I follow behind and make sure that everything's hooked up and working properly. However, for the most part, I think Jerry might have even mentioned it earlier, once they're plugged in, the content almost magically appears on the screen. Of course, we pre-program each of these kiosks well in advance so that it appears seamless to the management and to the end user. But it really is pretty amazing how quickly and easily these things are to install. And I did also want to mention that even though in a lot of the images that you've seen here, most of the kiosks that you've seen are black, but we can have them fabricated in different colors because most of the stuff we have made on demand. Plus, we have larger and smaller units and even wall-mounted models available if anybody's interested in anything like that.
Yeah. And if you need one delivered to Florida in the wintertime, we'll gladly go take that down as well.
Or the Bahamas.
Yeah. Again, there's our kiosk. This is, I think, a good way of letting you understand maybe how the design works on this. So on the left side here is the actual template that we've built out, and the right side is, just the finished product. The ads that can go in here, I say ads, this would be whatever content that you want to put in that section, can be interchangeable. We can actually make those slide every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you want. Banner ads at the bottom is, again, something else. We're talking to a lot of the different places that we've got them situated now about bringing in some local advertising that they want to offer. Trying to think, Bob, is there anything I'm missing here that you want to talk about?
Well, I think this image does a pretty good job of showing the new popular design that template that we've been using. And of course, it displays the logo of the hotel or the venue. It has the time, the weather. It also has a rotating screen right there in the middle where we can promote things like happy hour, continental breakfast, the pool hours or specials or whatever. We've also moved the touchscreen buttons over to the right, which allows it more easily to click things so that you can get to all of the dining and attractions and events or flight schedules or whatever. But do keep in mind that even though these kiosks that you're seeing right there, we have a lot of imagery, but we can also put videos on there. And even though this particular template is very popular, we could even start from scratch and design something totally different and customized towards your unique needs as well.
Analytics we talked briefly about. As you can see at the very top of each one of our kiosks, we have a camera that we can actually take all the data, and we get reports on this that we can see how many people are touching these screens and using them in different ways, from the impressions to the ages, the genders, the traffic flow, real-time interactions. We can gather some data that we think would be valuable to you. I could see down the road that based on where these are placed, that also provide alert systems for communities, security issues.
Yeah.
All these things will come into play.
And we've even been talking about putting some kind of an emergency button on there as well, in case somebody did have an emergency somewhere. They could click a link and it would not call 911, but give you the information for 911 or whatever. But while we're on the screen, I did also want to point out that there's an ad for Hotel Covington that we designed earlier this year, and they requested that it start playing the week before the Kentucky Derby. It was programmed it was programmed and designed several weeks in advance. So it just started displaying automatically. And then I scheduled it to be disabled at an end date, which we also program well in advance. And we can do the same kind of service for you, but we can also show you how to do that yourself as well. I just wanted to point that out with that.
Yeah, good point. Again, just talking more on data analytics, we just know how valuable that's going to be in future time, but also even today. Getting into funding on this is something I won't spend much time on, but it was, I think, March of this year that they wanted the final applications for the American Rescue Plan dollars. So most of you in the state of Kentucky that know about this already, I don't think we need to go into it. So, but we do offer other financing as well, and we have that available if we want to talk about that as we get to individual things. But lastly, our next steps for you would be to follow up. Feel free to reach out to us, learn more about our other products and services. Then obviously, if you're looking for a proposal, we can put that together for you as well. Any funding options, and most importantly, when do you get it and how do we get it and install it and make sure we're ready to go?
Yeah, and
So with that, I think questions, if you have questions.
Jerry, I also wanted to mention that at KTI, and I did mention this at KTI, that these kiosks are in really high demand and mainly built on demand. So there's typically a several month window from when the order is placed to when we can actually deliver these to the hotels and the businesses. So we do have some inventory in stock, but if anybody is really serious and interested about securing any of these kiosks for your organizations, please let me or Jerry, or we also have a Louisville representative, Mike Lutz, know as soon as possible, and we'll start preparing some custom pricing and delivery proposals for each one of you. And
Yeah.
I'll send out a brief follow-up email to all the attendees after the webinar with some scheduling information or contact information. We'll also make sure that we're available to do a Zoom meeting or even come and meet in person with you and your commissioners or boards if needed. And lastly, I'll probably have a recording of this that we'll post on YouTube that you can show it to your board or anybody else anytime in the near future. I think that's all I got, Jerry.
Very good. Thanks for attending. Hope to hear from you soon. Let us know with questions, information that you need, and we'll get that for you. Again, thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.